Okay, so Garuda Gear released some new keyboards a few weeks ago. One of them is the GG100B, an affordable 96% hot swap mechanical keyboard with tri-mode connectivity. But again, is the price and tri-mode connectivity feature enough to persuade people into buying this? Let's find out. The GG100B's price might vary depending on what variant you'll get. If you're getting the pre-built version, the price starts at 2,450 pesos. But if you're getting the bare bones version, the price is just 1,999 pesos. In my opinion, the pre-built version is good for beginners, while the bare bones version is good for enthusiasts or hobbyists. By the way, just a quick disclaimer, we will not modify this keyboard in this video. We'll just review the keyboard as it is. Inside the box, you'll find the user manual, the cable for charging and wired connectivity, a switch and keycap puller, a pair of switches, a brush, and lastly, the keyboard itself. Let's talk about the design of this keyboard first. As you can see, the bottom casing is thick and tall. It encloses the plate and PCB, which covers the switches in half. Now if you flip the board, you'll see the usual components like rubber feet, the brand logo, and some information. The connection mode switch can also be found at the bottom, and lastly, you'll see a USB dongle compartment. You can also adjust your typing angle up to 2 layers depending on how comfortable you are. In my case, I don't adjust it anymore since the bottom casing is quite tall for me. Meanwhile, the USB port is placed in the middle, just like most mechanical keyboards. You'll also find the Garuda Gear logo at the rightmost upper part of the keyboard. It's a heavy mechanical keyboard. It weighs around 1 kilogram. I think the reason why it weighs this much is because of the steel plate, its size, and the battery. We'll discuss more of the battery later, so please stay tuned. Now if you check the profile, it has an OEM profile, which is the typical profile of pre-built mechanical keyboards sold in the market. How about the colorways? Are there any available colorways aside from white? Yes, there is. This keyboard comes in ice white and smoke black, and each colorway has its own build material. The ice white has ABS build while the smoke black has polycarbonate. Even though they have different build materials, their prices are the same. Now that we have discussed its physical appearance and weight, let's check one of its selling points. The GG100B has tri-mode connectivity, Bluetooth, wired, and 2.4 GHz connection. My experience using the keyboard in all connection modes is smooth so far. Another good thing about the connection is that Garuda Gear was still able to implement the multiple devices connection when using it in Bluetooth mode. How about wired mode? Can we use other cables? Definitely. As you can see here, the USB port is not too enclosed, which allows us to use different USB cables. This is good because in most pre-built keyboards sold in the market, you can only use the cable included in the package. How about the PCB? Can we use 3-pin switches? The PCB of the GG100B has 5-pin hot swap sockets. And yes, you can definitely use 3-pin switches. To be honest, I love this feature because it doesn't limit us to a single type of mechanical keyboard switch. Okay, how about the default switches? Can we remove them easily? Well, yes. Unlike most budget keyboards, the default switches of the GG100B can be removed easily. This is good for beginners because it allows them to play around without worrying of breaking their keyboard. Now, let's move forward and check the stabilizers. Out of the box, the stabilizers of this keyboard are good enough. They're not wobbly and they're also lubed. Well, lube stabilizers are common, but yeah, it's still a nice gesture from Garuda Gear. But you can still tune them depending on your liking. The GG100B has 5000 mAh battery capacity. So far, this has the biggest battery capacity I've seen and tried in a pre-built mechanical keyboard. Before, 2000 mAh was already huge, but Garuda Gear was able to trump that. However, in my testing, the battery lasted only 3 days. To be honest, I'm expecting more because the capacity is more than the average. I think the reason why it did not last long is because there's no sleep mode. When the keyboard goes idle, it only turns off the RGB lighting. This is a good battery saving feature too, but having sleep mode is much better. As for the charging time, it took me around 3 hours to fully charge it. For me, the overall battery performance is just fine, but I still wish it has sleep mode. If it has, most probably, it will last up to a week or maybe more. Anyway, good thing it has tri-mode connectivity because we can use the keyboard in wired mode while it's charging. Now, how about software? Is there any software that we can download from Garuda Gear website? Well, yes, you can download the software from there, but there's nothing much you can do using the software. Most of the settings found are for lighting and for macro key functions. The GG100B can come with Utemus or Gatorons. The variant that we got here has Utemu browns. Also, the keycaps of this keyboard have ABS plastic build. I think they choose the ABS build to cut the cost of this keyboard. But again, this is not a problem because we can definitely change the keycaps. Anyway, here's a quick sound test of this keyboard. Now, let's tear this keyboard down and see what's inside. The GG100B has a tray mounting style, which again is common in pre-built mechanical keyboards. Actually, it's really easy to tear down this keyboard. Just remove the keycaps and switches and unscrew the screws of the keyboard. Once you're done, just pull the plate from the bottom casing and that's it. Inside the keyboard, there's nothing much to see. It's just the battery and there are no foams included. Now if we check the plate and PCB, you'll see a silicone dampener sandwiched between them. Also, the plate is made up of steel, which is one of the reasons why this keyboard weighs 1 kilogram. Overall, the out-of-the-box performance and build of this mechanical keyboard are good, to be honest. As we've seen earlier, there are dampeners installed which are occasional in most pre-built keyboards. Aside from that, you can choose whatever switches you want, whether it's 3-pin or 5-pin switches. This keyboard can handle it. But like all mechanical keyboards, it still has some shortcomings, like the sleep mode feature and the keycaps. But I think it's not a big deal since the aforementioned shortcomings are not showstoppers. There are workarounds that we can apply to overcome them, like using the keyboard in wired mode and getting aftermarket PBT keycaps. I'll definitely recommend buying this keyboard if you're new or if you're on a budget. Huge thanks to Garuda Gear for trusting us and sending this mechanical keyboard in. And that's it guys, we have reached the end part now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Till our next, goodbye.